really know where to start. I complained about Onision part 1. I complained about part 2, which was worse, and I'm not gonna lie, part 3 is by far the worst one. And I almost wish I didn't say part 2 was it got worse, because part 3 is also it got worse. And I mean, it just significantly, exponentially just keeps getting fucking worse. Why, you ask? Well, part 3 shows even more of the victim's stories. It shows their face. Their face may be obscured in some kind of way, but you hear their voices. You hear them telling their own experiences in their words, in their voice. You hear them from the interviews they did with Chris Hansen. You hear them from the interview Blair White did. There are just a lot of different things where their story is just perpetually being told. And part of me kind of wondered if Discovery might change their tune a bit between episode 2 and 3 just because of how much backlash they got. I don't know, the small voice in me thought maybe because they got so much flack for telling these girls' stories when they should not have in part 2, that they might like edit that out in part 3 or something just to kind of save their own ass, but they just do not care. So that part gets much worse. And you remember my last video doubting that they would have any criticisms of Chris Hansen in part 3 and just they might do it, they might not kind of thing, but I didn't even stop to consider the third option, which is what they took. Yes, we will put some very mildly worded criticisms of Chris Hansen in the documentary, but we're gonna use that to twist it back on how YouTube is bad and how YouTubers are bad. How Chris Hansen just legitimized the entire investigation and now YouTubers are mad. So let's just go ahead and take just a small fraction of the criticisms against Chris Hansen and use that to just turn it around and make everybody on YouTube look like total shit. That just did not occur to me. But A+ on that manipulation, Discovery+. A+ for Discovery+ being shitty. So let's just jump into it. In the documentary, they actually had the audacity to air this clip.
Let me be very, very clear here. The victims will always come first. Always, always, always.
The victims will always come first. Always, always, always. The problem with this, Chris, is that the victims pretty explicitly said they didn't want to be in this. And I know that it's twisted around and pointed at with different YouTubers who did speak of the victims or even have victims in their videos. It was twisted around to make it seem like, well, you're doing the same thing, except for there was consent. There was consent on that end of things. They were willing to be a part of those things and even willing to be part of your interviews, Chris Hansen, but they were not willing to be sold out to Discovery+. And you should have been more transparent that that was your intention to do so. So saying that the victims always, 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 always come first, but then still going against their wishes and putting them in this documentary, specifically that they said they did not want to be in, is just blowing my mind. And they do so not only by using Chris Hansen interviews, but by using the videos that other people have posted, like Blair whenever she did her interview. So here they are stealing clips from Blair's video. That's really great. I know she was upset about them using her likeness in part 1 and part 2. Well, I'm so sorry, but they did it a lot more in part 3. And this bothers me. I'm just taking a picture because I don't want her voice or her story even on my channel if it's not wanted. So this right here is the image that they had on screen. It was a video and they had it blurred out to about this extent of her telling her story, things that were done to her. It's just wildly inappropriate knowing the entire time that this is against her wishes, and they do this whole thing trying to frame it as though we're out to save the victims, we're out to get their word out, to protect them, to help them, even though they're literally the ones saying to not do it.
Chris Hansen here on the YouTube channel Hansen vs. Predators.
Shameless promotion of his YouTube channel much? Interesting, coming from a guy who's about to shit on YouTube and YouTubers quite a bit, but I digress. Ah yes, the Chris Hansen channel. I had the pleasure of being a part of it, and honestly, like at this point, it doesn't even surprise me that they're exploiting this girl even further. They're putting her and the interviews with Chris Hansen in here because let's be real, his entire motivation behind doing these interviews was so that he could gather enough to sell to some kind of network to make more money. And like, listen, if that's your goal, you should have just been transparent with it from the very beginning. And if these girls said they didn't want their story to be in it, that should have been respected. I don't know why that's so difficult to understand. Now, speaking of the victim stories being told, I really didn't have any intention of mentioning Edwin very much in this video, but he kind of was upset, very visibly so, on Twitter, so I feel the need to briefly address that. I just saw a swarm of people sending me this type of thing, so I'm gonna go ahead and go over it. So he saw my criticisms of him in my last video, and this is what he had to say. Were you more upset at the girls' stories being used for my participation? I mean, damn, you spent half of your 21-minute video dragging me through the mud when seeing how dumb I look because I was lied to by the documentary. Okay, Edwin, I did spend the last half of my video using clips from your video where you try to justify being on the documentary, and poorly so, to tell a larger story. Although you were spoken about sporadically through the duration of about 10 minutes, the entire 10 minutes was not solely focused on you, and you know that. I used your almost like arrogant confidence in knowing that you vetted them thoroughly and had all the ducks in a row that they wouldn't tell these girls' story to make a point to people in the general public that you need to cover your own ass better when you do interviews. I was not trying to come off like I'm better than you in any kind of way, because I actually told my own story where one time an interview I did was botched to shit and edited to try to make me look bad. I mean, they failed, but that was their intention. It is not uncommon for people who are not well versed in this type of thing to be manipulated, and I felt that I had been manipulated once in that interview, so I have taken action since then to never let that happen again. And Edwin, I am so sorry if it offends you so, but you were manipulated too. And I even said in my video that I believed you when you said that you thought you really did have the answers. I believed that they lied to you. I still believe that they lied to you. But I'm going to stand by my criticisms of you and saying you should not have been in that documentary. You should have gotten something in a contract that is legally binding, but you didn't. And I also don't believe that any YouTuber should have been part of a documentary like this that clearly does so many things to go against the girls' wishes and to misrepresent the story, to glorify Chris Hansen. I mean, I could go on. And even if you yourself personally don't like Chris Hansen and wanted to speak out against him, it doesn't matter, because the overall sentiment of the documentary that your face is in is that Chris Hansen is a great guy. And the girls' stories are being told, and you have to own up to that. So I know you're upset, but I think I was entirely fair. I understand that you don't think that I was, but I went pretty easy on you, was understanding, said I believed you, said I do think that you were lied to, even said you should have been monetarily compensated. But what really rubs me the wrong way at this point is that this is the first time you actually addressed the things that went on in this documentary. I mean, I know you made your video prior to the documentary airing trying to cover your ass saying why you decided to do it, but since it has gone live and it went against all of your promises that you made to your audience that it would not tell these girls' stories, you haven't said anything. And whether or not you were lied to, it's still a pretty important thing to readdress. If that happened to me, I would have been on it immediately, livid, bitching at Discovery Plus for doing this. The silence is not a good look. I'm not the only one who noticed it, and it is kind of unfortunate that the first time you say anything about that is because you're upset that I criticized you. And I'm sure you're planning on doing this very soon, but you do need to address the fact that you said it to your audience that you knew for a fact these girls would not be in this documentary, and that you put your face in something that very clearly went against their wishes. And I know you were wondering, am I more upset at the girls' stories being told or your participation? And I have the same question for you, Edwin. Are you more upset that I criticized you, or that the thing that you were promised up and down wouldn't happen very much happened, and that now you're associated with it? But now I want to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video, because I did say in my last video I didn't think they were going to air any kind of criticism against Chris Hansen. What I didn't consider was that they would air criticism of Chris Hansen, but then turn it around, like I said, to manipulate people into thinking internet and YouTube and YouTubers are the bad guy. It's amazing how they did that. So let's hear specifically Edwin, because that's who we were talking about. Give his criticisms of Chris Hansen. I have compiled all of them into these clips that you can see right one after the other, so let's go.
Everybody definitely believed that Chris Hansen had good intentions.
So I'm on it.
I think he did more than he could chew.
Okay, so he said that everybody thought Chris Hansen had good intentions, which means in the past tense, now we're realizing that maybe he didn't, and that maybe he bit off more than he could chew. Okay, we're getting towards some criticisms, kind of.
At first, everybody was super ecstatic about it because he kind of put himself on this pedestal and as a savior himself, and everybody ate it up.
I agree with that. I actually have said the same thing. So we are getting closer to criticism, saying that he put himself on a pedestal. We're kind of setting the stage for us to kind of reveal that he's no longer on that pedestal.
Everybody thought that it was just for financial gain, and he essentially does exploit victims, in my opinion.
And that is it. That is all the criticism we will hear out of Edwin for Chris Hansen, that he exploits victims, which is a valid criticism, but that's all you're gonna hear from this documentary. I'm sure that he said more, but they're not gonna play it. Now, Edwin, I know you think I'm a boogie monster because I criticized you in my last video, but that's just kind of the person that I am. If I see somebody make a mistake, I didn't go after you and call you an idiot or throw names at you or get angry with you. But especially with things like this, you gotta be really careful. So I do stand by all those criticisms, but whenever I criticize somebody, that doesn't mean I'm not opposed to ever defending them in the case of them needing to be defended. I feel pretty impartial to it. I am not partisan to anybody. If I see somebody needing defense, even if I just criticize them for something else, I'm gonna defend them. It's just how it is. I'm gonna just watch this documentary, and as I see things happen, I'm gonna give my opinion on it. So Edwin, here's your moment. I'm gonna defend you now, because what Discovery Plus does next is total bullshit, and this is the part where, ooh, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers in particular, probably were screaming at their TV when they saw this happen.
Chris Hansen does not view himself as a YouTuber. He views YouTube as a stepping stone to get to the next level of his career.
Notice how he says to get to the next level of his career. This is a very interesting thing coming out of this guy's mouth, because like, are you trying to criticize Chris Hansen? Are you defending him in a weird way? Because it kind of sets it up in the way of it actually defending him with what comes next. But I do want to point out that he said it's a stepping stone. YouTube is a stepping stone for Chris Hansen's career, not for it to be a stepping stone for him to elevate a story that he's deeply passionate and cares about and just wants justice for their victims. And he's using YouTube as a stepping stone to the next level of helping people. No, it's a stepping stone for his career.
Television has the potential to take this to a wider audience and to increase the potential that we will see justice.
It's so hard for me to listen to him say things like this, because in the back of my mind I know that the alleged victims asked him not to include their likeness, their story, nothing. Please stop pretending like you're doing this for literally anybody else but you.
Having Chris Hansen involved has brought some legitimacy to the investigation.
Having this come right after that clip is so frustrating for me, because we're literally right in the area of trying to criticize Chris Hansen, but instead of that, we're gonna say, no, he added legitimacy to the whole thing.
You come to YouTube with open arms and respect for the platform.
Over the weekend, some harsh criticism.
And Hansen didn't show that respect.
What does that mean? What does that mean, Hansen didn't show that respect? I mean, I know he didn't like the criticism. I'm becoming very aware no one likes to be criticized on YouTube. That's a thing. People get very uppity about it. But I don't really get where he's going with that and saying that Chris Hansen didn't show the respect. I mean, do you think it's because he basically lifted the work that everybody else did, the research that everybody else did, and pretended like it was his to sell to somewhere else? I mean, that might be part of the disrespect. I don't know. Could it maybe be because he was disingenuous? Oh, or maybe it could be because he wasn't transparent with his intentions. If he had everybody on board from the beginning and let people know what his goals were, then there could have been an opportunity for people to work together, get on board with it. Who knows? But it does feel very snaky to keep that to yourself in your back pocket, knowing that at some point in the future you're planning to cash in on all of this, all these interviews you're doing, all these lines of bullshit you're feeding everybody saying, I care, I'm gonna find justice for you. You didn't find justice for anybody. You found money for yourself.
I think along the way, there was resentment because I came in as a non-YouTuber and took this investigation to the next level.
You took your career to the next level, as what's-his-face said before. You did not elevate the investigation. You actually got in the way of it in multiple different ways. And let me be clear, it's not that you showed up and you weren't a YouTuber, and that's why you were rejected, because you're not one of us. No, it's because of what I said before, because you were snaky about it, you were not transparent with your intentions, and have chosen to ignore what the victims truly want, which is to not be a part of this silly little documentary. It's not because you weren't a YouTuber. Get a hold of yourself. Stop trying to act like people don't like you for stupid, petty little reasons. There are strong, valid reasons, and it's not because he isn't one of us. Come on.
All you've been doing, Chris, is regurgitating every single thing that other creators have done and put out on the internet. There's nothing new.
That, actually, That right there is the most harsh sentiment towards Chris Hansen throughout this entire thing. But why would they include that? Why would they include that? Well, let me tell you, it's about to turn. The tables are about to turn, and the fingers are gonna now be pointed at YouTubers for being the scummy ones. You just wait.
They know that anytime they criticize me or invoke my name in any way, it adds clicks, profits, money.
Oh, okay, Onision. Doesn't this sound familiar? They're only talking about me because it gets them views. Says Chris Hansen, anytime they use my name, it gets clicks, it gets likes, it gets views. By the way, nobody says clicks. No one says it gets clicks.
Everybody thought that it was just for financial gain, and he essentially does exploit victims, in my opinion.
Well, Edwin, perhaps you should take a look in the mirror, having tried to use victims in your own way.
Fuck you, Chris Hansen? Oh my God.
Use victims in your own way with the drama channel to drive up clicks and views.
The difference, Chris Hansen, between Edwin and you is that you, Chris Hansen, were asked by the victims that are the most important thing to you, right? You were asked to keep your damn mouth shut, and you didn't listen. You are the one exploiting people that do not give you consent. How dare you compare your scummy ass to people out there who are actually doing things with permission, who are actually doing things that don't go against explicit requests to leave people out of it. You are straight up ignoring what people want. Discovery Plus, straight up ignoring girls that do not want to be in this and putting them in it anyway. These are people who have already been traumatized enough. They do not want to keep reliving this shit. If they're okay with somebody doing it on YouTube and that's their comfort level, that is their discretion. They can decide what they're comfortable with. If they're okay with that, that's their choice. They're not okay with what you are doing. They are not okay with what Discovery Plus is doing.
I never got into the YouTube space to make a ton of money. I got into the story because it was important. I'm compensated to work on a story just like I'm compensated to work on any other production.
Oh my God! Oh my God! You literally just got through criticizing drama channels on YouTube. And then you're like, yeah, but when I do it, I'm just getting compensated for the work that I do. Listen, I'm not too naive, Chris, to understand that yes, if you talk about dramatic things on the internet or television or wherever the hell it is, it might get you clicks. The reason what you are doing is wrong is because I feel like a broken record, because you're doing something that the girls specifically asked you not to do, which is really screwed up of you, especially since you try to espouse the idea that you are just Mr. Savior, right?
Ultimately, absolutely everyone involved is making money off of this. If you look at channels like
Oh my God! Blair's interview, there was an agreement. That same person that was in Blair's video asked not to be in this flaming dumpster fire shit show of a documentary by Discovery Plus. That is the difference.
I still believe that the dialogue we created is worthwhile.
in one part, you're helping these people by getting their stories out.
They don't want their stories out. Oh my God. I need to cool it. I need to cool it.
I believe there is nothing this man will not do to make money or to preserve his position in the social media hierarchy.
Okay, I might agree that that is true of Onision, but let's play that clip one more time and just think about it as though the subject of the conversation is Chris Hansen, as though there's nothing Chris Hansen wouldn't do.
There is nothing this man will not do to make money or to preserve his position in the social media hierarchy.
I do believe that of Chris Hansen, and in the video I made entirely dedicated to Chris Hansen, I talk about all the kinds of financial trouble he's found himself in, and this might just be his ticket out.
It is a world where scandal can equal profit, where drama drives clicks, subscriptions, viewers, and ad revenue.
It's so interesting to me because in this clip, he's trying to shit on people who make YouTube videos when it's literally his job description. It goes on to talk about the community guidelines on YouTube, and then it shows clips of Onision breaking the community guidelines, and then YouTube refusing to give a comment about it, and just the evil dramatic music behind it really does kind of point the finger at YouTube. I thought, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the issue, the main point of all of this, and what should have been the climax of the documentary, should have been Onision, right? Because that's their goal, right? They're speaking out for the victims, right? Because they want to see action taken against Greg, against Onision, because that's what this whole thing is about. Right? Wrong. It seems like this whole thing is now the very final point that they decide to make about how the internet is bad and the internet is scary and creepy, and how YouTubers, that's the real problem, that's the real evil. That's what this whole shit show has amounted to. The ending is not even about Onision. It's about how YouTube bad, YouTubers bad. Chris Hansen, hero. Literally right before I sat down to film this video, I saw a tweet from Kendall Brown, and I'm gonna go through and read this because I really resonate with it. She says, I'm seeing a lot of people disappointed in the Onision doc. It was always going to be bad because the villain, as they present it, isn't Onision, it's the internet. Chris Hansen came from Dateline, a show designed to scare the shit out of your grandparents. That was their goal. The documentary wasn't made for people who use YouTube. It was made for baby boomers and was designed to play into their fears about the boogeyman that is the internet. It's the same style as coverage of the satanic panic in the 80s and child abduction stuff from the 90s. You aren't meant to come away from the documentary thinking Onision is a sexual predator who should be jailed. You, meaning your 80-year-old mama, are meant to feel that your pre-existing feelings that society is in a downward spiral thanks to technology have been confirmed. Ugh, it just leaves me with such an overall disgusted feeling. They took advantage of so many people involved with the documentary. They took advantage of the girls that said they didn't want to be a part of it, and they're taking advantage of everybody they're playing to who believes that this is a valid, legitimate documentary on Onision, somebody who they were brought to attention to through YouTube, and they wanted to follow this documentary possibly somewhere else. Those are the two audiences of people who might see this. People who are already very aware and are coming from YouTube, and people who are a little bit older who don't really understand what's going on, that are gonna get a very twisted perception of what's actually going on. The only good thing I can say about part 3 is that it was a final part and now this shit's done. I'm so happy to stop talking about Discovery fucking Plus. I have seen quite a few people, however, asking me to address some of the videos Onision has made. He's made some responses, I guess, to the documentary, and I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about that, you guys. I'm pretty stoked. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty stoked to be closing the book on this one, but if it's something that's like just desperately wanted, you can let me know. But as of right now, I'm just so relieved that at least the documentary is done. At least I can walk away from this. I've said my piece. Anyway, I'm gonna take my wine now and try to relax and forget that I killed so many brain cells throughout the duration of this entire experience watching this documentary. I can't not give it air quotes because I don't want to give it legitimacy. So I'm gonna go relax. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I'm gonna be posting a lot more videos hopefully on here in the near future about, please, dear God, something else. Big thank you to everybody who supports me over on Patreon, patreon.com/Jaclyn. A lot of my stuff gets demonetized because YouTube hates me, you know? Everyone just hates me, that's just how things are. Also, thank you to everybody supporting me by checking out my merch store, ffvmerch.com. And if you want, I'm gonna be posting a lot of very interesting videos because my vlog channel, youtube.com/JaclynVlogs, is evolving into like a family vlog channel style-esque type of thing. Lots of wedding videos will be coming up in the future. So if you wanna keep up with me and what I'm doing in regular day-to-day life that is not just packed with drama all the time, you can go and subscribe to youtube.com/JaclynVlogs. I really hope to see you guys there. Cheers, let's go relax, and I will see you in the next video. Hopefully, it's a lot more fun. All right, until then, bye.